Hello, everyone. In today's session, we're going to go through the Strategic Human Resource Management Unit, and we're going to go through learning outcome number 4 this time, which is to be able to plan and develop human resource strategies. In the previous lecture, we went through learning outcome number 3, wherein we focused on how HRM strategies are planned, essentially. So today, we're going to look through what is organization culture. So basically, organization culture is the way in which a specific organization functions, or the way in which the different operations in the organization are taking place. So the culture would essentially be the way the leaders believe in certain things, and also not just the leaders believing in certain things, but the way everything is communicated through the leaders as well to the employees eventually. So that essentially is the culture. For example, an IT organization might have a stricter organization culture, whereas a marketing organization might have a little relaxed organization culture. So that is how organization culture varies from different organizations and plays an important role. And then human resource planning essentially also looks at how the organization culture plays a role in terms of, making certain plans, making sure that those plans are even happening or following through. There shouldn't be any, hiccups between them plans. So looking at everything together is a job of human resource planning as well. And then they also look at, if there is a shortage of a specific skill that's required in the organization. So in terms of manpower shortage, if that's there or not. Or do they have basically a surplus in the organization? So they have a look at what's happening as well there. Now, this says how you critically analyze the impact of organizational strategy, structure, and culture on the management of human resources. So basically, if you're looking at the deepest level, an organization's culture is basically based on the values and everything that's derived from, the nature of the people who are working for the organization. Then how does the organization have a relationship with the environment in which it's working? Does the organization have appropriate emotions in terms of for example, there was the Black Lives Matter movement that went. So all organizations showed that everyone has emotions and they supported that, the Black Lives Matter movement. Then how effective the organization is in terms of doing their task, and is it even doing a good job or not? So there are many, many different factors that come into play when you talk about the the organization strategy and also the organization's culture. Now, organization culture can be through many different ways. It might vary because probably the leaders are, having a specific set of behavior that they include. I also have a little quick video that I wanted to show. Just give me 1 second while I pull that across. Just gonna share my screen again so that you all can see the video better. It was just this one.
Let me introduce you to Jim. Hello, Jim. Let's follow Jim as he grows up, follows his dream, creates his own company, and learns a lot about organizational culture. Every human organization creates a unique culture all its own. From a small family business operating in its hometown to a large global corporation spanning cultures and time zones, each organization has a distinct identity. Organizational culture is influenced by beliefs and assumptions. What do we mean by beliefs and assumptions? Beliefs and assumptions come from the things that we hear, observe, and learn. They also come from the things that we try. Sometimes these things work, sometimes they don't. Then we rethink and try again, just like little Jim. Now let's follow Jim to the university. He meets friends and inspires them.
A quick aside, it's important to give you a simple example. When we talk about operating,
3 cheers for Jim and his friends as they graduate and team up to form an organization of their own. They decide together where they want to go. They create a foundation that everybody can use and recognize. Form teams which align and engage together to succeed in their market. In order to succeed, organizations need to be able to adapt. Let's watch Jim and his team as they strive for success together. Beneath the surface of an organizational culture, we have assumptions, beliefs, perceptions, thoughts, and feelings. These are taken for granted. We can't see them. Organizational culture is learned. It grows as we gain experience from our work and move on together over time. The lessons from the past shape our work and life strategies for the future and are important enough to pass on to the next generations, not only for their survival, but also for their development, evolution, and success.
So this was just a quick video just explaining you what organization culture is and how organization culture is essentially put into a specific scenario so that it helps in making decisions and also pushes the organization to do better in the end. There are various factors that come into place, and how does organization strategy play an important role because of that? So what is organization strategy? It essentially is the goals or strategies that the organizations set up for themselves so that they can basically achieve it in the long term, and they come up with a strategic plan. So basically we spoke about this in the previous unit as well, how we align our strategic plans with how human resources aligns their strategic plans with the organization's strategic plans, so that essentially at the end they can work towards the same goals and the end result can be same. So there are different organizational strategies that are put into place, and because of which the human resource team also needs to change their strategy and their direction in terms of how they're looking at different scenarios according to the organization's goals now and pushing the organization towards that. Now, we all know there are different structures that are followed in various organizations. So every organization might have a different set of organization structure. So you might have a tall organization structure wherein everything is in a hierarchy. Everyone has to report to someone and they are aware of who they need to report to. You might have a flat organization structure in which few people in the organizations are at the top, whereas the rest of them are at the same levels. So it's a flatter than having so many levels. It's everyone in the similar level and only few people at the top. And then you obviously have a matrix organization structure wherein you have people working in higher levels, but you also have a cross-cultural collaboration that is run through, which is usually followed in the bigger organizations wherein cross-culture or different departments exist. So HR puts in place different cross-cultural activities that can happen. Now you're also looking at cost leadership and differentiation. So the organization strategy, you might focus on the strategic focus. In cost leadership, you might look at efficiency, stability, and cost control. Whereas in differentiation, you might look at growth, innovation, and decentralization. As an HR strategy, you might look at having long planning horizon in terms of cost leadership and also to build the existing employees so that they are better at their job and they have job specialization as well. Whereas in differentiation, the HR strategy would be shorter HR planning horizons and to hire the HR capabilities that are needed in the organization. And also look at more flexible jobs in terms of the employees getting their work done. Now you have different activities that might happen in cost leadership within HR, which basically has looking at promoting the organization's culture, then extensive training that takes place. You also hire and train for specific capabilities when you're promoting them. Whereas differentiation looks at recruiting external staff. Since you're recruiting staff, you're obviously going to recruit people who are suited for the job role. You might not to train them a lot. And, you might not have to hire and train them for different competencies. That's literally it. Now you have strategic HR management and planning. So in strategic HR management, you have different cultural factors that play an important role, as there are different factors that, societal factors, beliefs, actions of people, whereas organizations' effectiveness and strategic human resource management, your HR management might play a role in that. And, you might have to do different things over there. So cultural factors are coming from within, whereas organizations and strategic HRM is planned and, decided and, sticking to the organization's goals. Now you have Handy's 4 class of culture. So this explains that there are 4 different people in, in the high level roles where you have power, role, task, and person. So while developing a structure and a relevant comprehensive HR strategy in an organization, you're essentially looking at, again, making sure that you reach the strategic objective of that organization and making sure that all of, your business goals, everything is run based on the organization's goals. And based on that, you have, effective HR strategies in place, which will essentially guide the whole organization to do better and push them towards, getting things done. And also, we need to keep in mind that the HR strategy needs to be very, it has to be very clear in terms of what is expected out of the associate. There shouldn't be question marks to it. If you're sticking to this strategy, then you stick to it for a longer time and make sure that you're, making the most out of it. And therefore, you might think that an effective HR strategy will only help the business to reach its goals, essentially. So also the HR strategy should have an entire framework in terms of how much needs to be done, when, and, there are different things that you keep in mind while you're doing that. And also this framework defines the roles of employees within different departments. So each different department employee knows what they're doing and why are they doing that specific job role. Now, just going to take a few sample examples, just having a look. There was one more thing that I wanted to mention, which was the performance indicators. That's absolutely fine. So we're going to look at a few different companies that are based in the UK that look at different HR strategies. So one is ASTA, whereas one is the Aon case study. So basically, Aon is a British multinational corporation which provides risk management, insurance, reinsurance, brokerage, HR solutions, outsourcing services. So there's so many things that they do. So as a process, they obviously have the business strategy in place, and then they look at the workforce's capabilities and also the challenges that they face in getting different tasks done. And then the HR strategy or the HR leaders essentially modify the plans to work with the workers' capabilities, overcome their challenges, and then you have different HR initiatives in place. And HR basically might record those initiatives through a scorecard or, a special monitoring feature or a few matrices through which they do it. Now, this is a case study about ASTA, wherein ASTA was basically wanting to create so many jobs in the next few years. And, ASTA has so many managers already. They have various different stores across the country everywhere because it's basically a grocery store. And they basically, what they want is in the next 5 years, they're looking at creating many jobs. And also they want to lower the cost of their business operating model. So they're looking at many people to hire essentially for that. So that is the HR plan or the business strategy that they're using essentially to make sure that they reach their goals in the next 5 years. Now we're going to talk about how you do critically monitor the effectiveness of human resource management. So you need to see how effective human resource management is, and you can study the entire HR process and the different activities under the human resource management. So you might look at balance scorecard, benchmarking, performance indicators. Then you have what staff turnover means. So staff turnover literally means the percentage of staff who might leave during a specific set of period. So that essentially is staff turnover. Then you also have labor productivity, which is the output per associate or per employee in terms of how well they're doing their job and how well they are, giving their output. Then you have absenteeism, which essentially is people that are absent from their work that essentially were supposed to be there at work, but they are not there anymore. So you're looking at different factors over here. Then you have the organizational performance. So organizational performance is basically the process through which the organization's, the business goals and objectives are kept in mind. And in the organization, you see how well they're doing. And if they're not doing well, then HR intervenes and might create different activities or, different trainings. So it depends. A balanced scorecard is basically a performance management approach, which would ensure that, all of the areas in the business are balancing in terms of getting all of their tasks done. Everyone is giving the same input, and that's how you make sure that you have a balanced scorecard across your organization. Now there's benchmarking, which essentially is the practice through which you understand so for example, if you're looking at quality benchmarking, so you have a specific product, the quality is already mentioned. How you reach that level of quality is the benchmark that you have to reach. So essentially that is what benchmarking means. And it helps HR as well. Then you have key performance indicators or KPIs, which essentially are key areas through which you can see that your performance is improved. You are doing an amazing job. There are few indicators that you should expect that are there. You might have employee retention in terms of, you might have people leaving, retiring, there's maternity leaves, there's a lot of things going on. So you need to keep all of that in mind, and how to also make sure that your current employees are retained properly and are happy and satisfied with their jobs so that they don't leave and you have less turnover. This is just some few ways through which you can improve staff turnover. So you have proper recruitment and training. You give proper pay and incentives, and your staff is rewarded for their loyalty. Now, how or which factors influence labor productivity? So you see the different skills that are put in, and also see the methods of production and different external factors. Now you have labor productivity formula, which is essentially the output per period versus the number of people at work. So it gives you per person calculation in terms of how many units per associate made or, was able to produce. Now, how do you track absenteeism in terms of you understand why are they being sick? You have a proper policy in place for absenteeism and sickness. You make sure that the issues are, resolved and all of your associates are motivated to even come into work. So this was a few bits that we went through today in terms of seeing how to make sure that proper strategies are in place and how an organization can function through different ways and look at different ways in which you can monitor your associates as well. And also have, how to improve employee retention and staff turnover. So hope this lecture was helpful today. And if you have any doubts, please feel free to send me an email out. Thank you. Bye.